This is a brief description on the issue with culling masks with the latest Oculus SDK. Now previously in the Oculus SDK, it would allow for a left and right camera. Why this was important is because having two separate cameras allowed you to use culling masks. This is the process of selecting which layers to render with that camera. Having per eye culling masks is really important, especially on low-end hardware. This allows me to make optimizations that give the effect of full polygonal rendered objects when in reality they're just a quad. Let me give you an example here. So we have your standard OVR camera rig, and what I've done here is I've taken a camera and put it on the left and right eye anchor, and I've used the culling masks here to mask off this layer. Same for the right eye, but it's a different layer here. And so what this does is it renders this particle differently. There are two quads here. Each one is rendering the exact same material, the exact same texture. You can see it here. And what this texture does is it has a row for left eye and for right eye. And they always stay in sync. And when you render it this way, where some of these rows render to the left eye and to the right eye, you get the effect of a full 3D object. Now in reality, this is just two quads, just two, and it's running off the exact same texture. And I can do a lot of different effects this way, from depth on walls and various other pieces of geometry that you just cannot pull off with a single camera. Now, there is an option in the Oculus utilities that shows you how to do this with their current system. Now their current system, let me get specific here why this is a problem right now. All right, so we're going to bring in the Oculus sample. It has a lot of really neat objects, very helpful. And we have one here called per eye cameras. Now we go here and we see this blue object. Now, stereo screen. There's a left, there's a right, and each one renders to a separate camera. This sounds like exactly what it is I need. However, this is the stereo camera here. You can see the right eye is blue and the left eye is red. And if we were to go to the actual OVR camera controller, it still has its center camera, but nothing on the left and nothing on the right. They're actually disabled. And you'll see that the center eye is both, but if we were to go over here to the stereo camera, left is left, right is right. Now, I mean, this looks exactly like what I'm looking for. The culling masks are here. So left eye only, right eye only. The problem with this approach is using depth to composite. It's literally compositing this over top of this scene. So if we were to look inside what the camera sees in Oculus, it doesn't have the square whatsoever. So it's rendering this camera, and then it's rendering this on top of it. This gets us a total image down here of what we're looking for to some degree. Now, this is all fantastic, fine and dandy, but because this camera renders after the main camera, we have a major problem. If we were to take, say, this object here, when you're compositing left and right cameras, instead of having them native, you get sorting issues. So the Oculus camera, which is rendering the scene and all the objects in it, are rendering, and then this is rendering on top of it. This is rendering second. Now, the problem here comes in when I try to overlay this block here. We instantly see that there's a problem. Because this is a composited render, instead of natively supporting left and right cameras, there is no way for me to sort things properly. Now, in the case of Pulsar Arena, those blocks render left and right independently to save a lot on performance. There's a lot less transparencies, a lot less vertices. The material is simple, it's unlit. But because this has been removed, the feature to do left and right on the main camera has been removed, I can no longer use that feature. And so it causes a bunch of problems right from the get-go. I do not understand why, for the life of me, why it is enforced to have the camera off on left and right. Now, I'm going to show this again. If I were to go to left and right and turn them on and make this as simple as humanly possible, we're going to set this to right, we're going to set this to left, And we're going to make it so this renders the everything but the right eye, so it's left eye stuff. And this one is everything but the left eye, so it's right eye stuff. And we turn off the stereo cameras. Bam! Sorting issue solved. And I'm going to turn off the center camera. But for whatever reason, by design, by poor design, however you want to put it, this is not supported. The very second you go and do this, you get a message saying this has been deprecated. You cannot use a right eye and a left eye. You can only use one camera. And therefore, I can't render things in stereo per eye anymore. And the very fact that I have to use 2 sets of cameras, a grand total of 3 in Unity, 4 in reality, to be able to achieve what I can do with 2 in the previous SDKs is kind of ridiculous. We need to find a solution. Now, I have a proposed solution for this that might fit both the current setup and get it to work nice and easy for everybody. Here's what I propose. So instead of going back to the system where we have 2 separate eyes, by the way, that would be fantastic if you guys didn't enforce that. I mean, seriously, it would solve a lot of problems. If we insist on keeping it so it's just one camera in the scene, then I propose having this hard-coded. So there's a left eye only, a right eye only mask in Unity by default that renders exactly that, one for each eye. Now, I would like to have the ability to use whatever layers I want, but the simple fact that if it was just built in to the main OVR camera rig would solve this particular problem. It's not currently set up that way. I still need to set up a second complete rig and different ways to get the sorting issues figured out, and that's not really what a designer like me wants to spend our time on. We want to make sure we're making the experiences good, not kind of dancing around all the changes in the SDK. So please hear me when I say either make this part of the SDK on the main OVR camera rig or allow us to use 2 cameras like we used to be able to. Thank you.